Hello, thank you so much for tuning in this week. We have a fun topic. So, have you heard the plans to storm Area 51 and bust out the aliens? Now, I would highly recommend not participating in this event because military personnel will most definitely take you out on the spot. But let's just pretend that after all of these people on the internet decide to show up and bust out the aliens, there's going to be a whole bunch of aliens introduced to the handmade shopping world, and they're going to be super excited to buy all of these handmade products. So, this episode is hopefully going to serve as a brainstorming session for information about what to include in your listings to help customers and these new customers get excited about your product. So, when you think about it from the perspective of someone who knows absolutely nothing about what you're selling, it should serve to help you to be sure that you answer all of their questions and eliminate as much confusion as possible. Now, remember, a confused mind will say no. So, if the customer's confused about what you're selling, they will say, you know what, no, I guess I don't need it. And they're going to move on to something else. So, this is going to serve as a way to answer all of those questions. And I want you to do your best to remove any confusion and as many possible opportunities for the customer to say no. So while we're doing this brainstorming, I want you to write down any ideas that may pop into your head, and then we can move those into your listing descriptions and hopefully get more customers to add your products to their cart.
Welcome to the Handmade Entrepreneur Life. I'm your host, Katherine Hampton. Together we are journeying through life as handmade entrepreneurs. I started my journey in 2013 and have successfully built a business that generates multiple six figures year after year. My goal is to share strategies and techniques that I have learned so that you can skip the stress and jump straight to success. Now let's get started.
So, with that being said, is your shop set up in a way that someone who has never seen your product can read your descriptions, look at your pictures, and understand why they have to have your item right this second? Human or not, customers who are looking at your listing may not understand what they're looking at. So it's super important to describe your items in a way that it's easy to understand. Now, it's also important to keep in mind that when you work with your products on a daily basis, it's easy to overlook things that might not be obvious to someone who has never seen your product. As an example, when I was redoing my listing descriptions, I noticed that I didn't include in my listings, because I do a lot of things with vinyl, that I didn't include the difference between a sticker and a decal. And there's a lot of confusion about that it's not paper-based. So people weren't understanding that this was something that could be put on a car or that it was water resistant. But because I worked with it all the time and because I said that it was vinyl, I just assumed that people understood that. Then, once I added into it that it's vinyl, not a paper sticker, I suddenly stopped getting these questions about it being outdoor rated or could you put it on a car, because I was answering that question for the customers up front. So that was something that I was just overlooking and assuming that people knew because I worked with this product on a daily basis. And you can't take those things for granted because the general population doesn't know what you know when you are an expert in that area. Now, I do want you to keep in mind that you don't need to include proprietary information. Just put in things that will help the customer to better understand what they are purchasing. You don't need to include business secrets or anything that's going to potentially hurt your business by sharing that information. So, what are the basics that we need to cover for the customer who doesn't know what you sell? It's really as simple as the 5 W's and how that we learned in grade school. So that's who, what, when, where, why, and how. But before we get into the questions, I do want to recommend a book that's helpful when it comes to writing the descriptions. It's called Words That Sell by Richard Bayan, And I'm not 100% sure that I'm saying that last name right, so I'm going to spell it for you. It's Bayan. Now, I highly recommend it for anyone who sells online because it can, I'm sure you know, be a struggle. It can be a struggle to kind of come up with new words so that you're not repeating yourself over and over again. And so this is basically like a thesaurus, but for words that help you sell things. So I highly recommend getting that book if you don't have it. I'm not making any money off of it. I'm not affiliated with it. It's just something that's been really helpful for me. So that's Words That Sell. If you don't have it, get it. You need it. Trust me, you'll love it. So go grab that. Now, the first question that we're going to ask and answer for our customers is, who is your product for? And who can benefit from using your product? So for instance, if you sell custom tutus, you might say that your product is for little girls who love to twirl, or little girls on their first birthday. If you sell cloth diapers, your product is for babies, or it might be for eco-conscious moms. So it doesn't have to be one set thing. It's just something that you're going to mention in your listing to help get that train of thought rolling for your customers. Now, as an added bonus and something to kind of keep in the back of your mind is that when you're answering these questions, this is helpful for your SEO, because as Google's crawling your listings on your website, not a whole lot on Etsy, but on your website, these are keywords that it's going to be pulling up from your listing. So it's very helpful to have these keywords that it can kind of tag and get customers that it's specific to these terms. So keep that in mind too when you're working on this exercise. It kind of has a dual purpose. So the next question is what? What does your product do? Now this can be a function or a feeling. So it could make your best friend feel special or appreciated. It can make a bachelorette party the most memorable celebration of her life. It could be that it makes the user feel luxurious. It's just whatever the function is, the purpose of it, or the feeling that it creates. You want the customer to be able to envision what is going to happen when they have the product in their hand and in their possession. Once they get it, what is going to happen? And you have to sometimes you have to get creative in how you write it and explain it, because it's not in front of them already. And so not all customers are able to be creative and really envision it. So you may have to get a little bit more descriptive. And this is where your pictures come into play too. You may have to have more lifestyle photos so that they can see how it's used. Now, you also want to answer when. And when gets asked twice. When do you use the product? And since we're shipping online, when will it ship? So, is the product for an occasion, a live event? When is it used? You could say this custom engraved beer mug makes a perfect gift for a showering or for showing appreciation to your best man on your wedding day. Or made from precious gems, this bracelet makes a memorable birthday gift for mom. So even if there's multiple events that your product can be used for, by mentioning one or two, you're sparking a train of thought for your customer. So your customer can say, oh yeah, that would be good for my sister's birthday too. You know, if mom would like it for Mother's Day, my sister would like it in a couple months for her birthday too. So you at least get them to start thinking and get that thought process going. And then they're like, add to cart, but wait, when am I going to get it? Just get that train of thought started. So that's what we're doing here. And then the second part of the when question is, when will it ship? So make sure that you have the expected ship times posted so that the customer knows when their item will arrive. Now, I have it posted everywhere on my website. They get emails. It's still the biggest question that I get. and it's still just going to be part of the process of selling online. But the more that you can post it, the more that you can communicate that information with your customers, the better. It's just something that customers have a lot of anxiety about when they're buying online. Now, the next W question is, where do you use the product? This is also a good idea for your photos. Now, we can answer these questions in the listings, all of the questions that we're going through, but if you can also incorporate them into photos for the people that respond better to each, the more that you can do that, the better. So for where, maybe if you sell wooden signs, then you would talk about how the sign is used in the home and it creates a welcoming environment or a loving environment or whatever the feeling of the sign evokes. So where is the product going to go when they receive it? That could be on your wrist if it's a bracelet, in the hair if it's a bow. So where does it go? Where is it used? Now the next W question is why. And we want to know, why is your product special? And answering this question is your chance to shine. What makes your product better than the competition? Do you use the best materials available in your industry? Do you use 14 karat gold? Is there an extra step you take in your processing that your competitors do not? Now, this isn't saying, like I said before, where you're giving away your secrets. Just some little bit of information that says, buy from us because this means, buy from us because we do this, and this means that you're going to get a better quality. Let your customers know what they can expect from you that they won't find from others, and why that means that they'll be happier with the end result. So, for instance, I don't know, it was probably 2 weeks ago, I bought a candle on Etsy. And in the listing, it said that they used premium grade essential oils and that ensured that the scent was going to last longer. And I've bought other candles on Etsy that they had beautiful pictures, everything looked nice. But when I got the candle, the scent didn't last very long. So seeing this little blip in the listing made me feel more comfortable and more assured that when I got the candle and when I used it, that the scent was going to last longer. Now, I don't really know if that makes a difference, but it did make a difference in my willingness to purchase, and so far the candle does smell good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But telling your potential customers why your product is the best helps make them feel more comfortable to make the purchase. And they're not going to know why your product is better unless you tell them. Now, you can't lie. No lying about why your product's better. Because if you tell them that your product is made with premium, precious gold, and they get it and it's plastic, you're in trouble. So, no lying. Don't tell them that your product's better if it's not. Be truthful. So we're not doing this to be scam artists. We want to be genuine, and you do want your product to actually be the best. So if your product isn't the best in some area, then we need to be working on improvements so that it can be the best, and so that you can tout in your listing that they should buy from you for X, Y, and Z, because it's better in that regard. So now we move to how. In this area, once they've moved through all the other questions, the how is really important. How is how to make a purchase from your shop. And this is just a brief explanation to your customers, letting them know how to check out from your shop. And it's so important, especially if you offer customized or personalized items, because it can be a little intimidating for customers when they're ordering online. So adding a couple of lines with a step-by-step explanation of how to get everything in the cart, it's going to decrease that anxiety that customers experience, and it can also increase their buying confidence. So another thing to keep in mind is if most of your listings are purchased the same way, you can also make a photo to add to your listing as well. And that's always helpful for customers that are more visual. And I know that we talk and joke about customers not reading, but they do, and they like to have their questions answered up front. Most people really don't like to have to send an email. If they're going to have to email you and ask a question, they're going to leave. They would rather just not buy it than have to send you an email. So completing activities like this decreases the number of people that leave, and it also decreases the amount of customers who are upset in the long run, who maybe misunderstood what they were buying or misunderstood something within the listing. So I really want to encourage you to take a moment to audit your shop and evaluate whether or not you're answering these questions for your customers up front. So take a look at your shop from the perspective of an alien, looking at your product for the very first time so that you know that you've answered as many questions as possible. I want you to take a step back and think, if I were an alien from outer space looking at my product, what questions would I need answered? And cover the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And you should get most of those things covered. And like I said at the beginning, I don't recommend joining the Area 51 festivities, but if you do decide to go, please take some pictures so I can see the aliens, because I wouldn't mind seeing some. But that is probably not recommended. So thanks so much for taking time out of your day to listen today. If you found today's episode helpful, please take a picture of the podcast cover photo and share it on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter so that we can help as many handmade entrepreneurs as possible. As always, if you have any questions, please DM me on Instagram and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. And everyone have a great week. I will talk to you next time. Bye. For an in-depth training on how to tin up your competition and provide value for your customers, check out CupcakeInsider.com. It's 100% free and hosted by my friend Renee Christie. No strings attached.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.